If he sat behind his desk, I knew I was definitely in trouble, because that was a statement. If we sat by his round table, it meant we were going to have an equal conversation. Now think about it. That's a very simple image. So if you're sitting behind a table and you're sitting low, people have to look down on you. That's first. I'm not sure all the wrinkles should show that well. And beside that, they're not looking, you're not on an even plane. That's really a problem. So the question, I can't stand for long periods of time. So I asked our sweet Linda to please bring me a stool, because the stool allows me to lean. I'm on a level. If you were walking by me, we'd be on the same level. I could easily get up. And I used to have a stool no matter where we went. Simple, easy, never sit behind your table. It makes no sense whatsoever. The other thing is, when you're doing, how many times do you have a whole day? Somebody said, oh, I have a whole day, I've got so much to do. I'm going to do a show, it's going to be 5 hours. I'm going to get something to drink and eat. And it won't be busy, so I'm not going to worry. That ever happened to anybody? It's no big deal, right? It's the worst thing you could do. The worst. Because it means if I'm a potential customer, you have no respect for me. Think about it. It's not like when you come into a facility or anything, somebody stands up and says hi. You can't say hi. You've got a full mouth. You're drinking. So no, you can't eat at your booth. And you can't have food at your booth. I'm sorry. So what do? What do you do? You're there by yourself. What do you do? Suggestions?
Somebody to cover you?
You initiate conversation?
What do you do if you're hungry? That's what you
what do you do
suggested.
if you're hungry?
What's the problem with getting somebody to cover you?
It's not you.
It's not you.
It's
They
not
don't know
you.
your stuff.
You eat
They
before
don't
you
know-
go.
That's right.
Okay, so one, I suggest is sharing booths when you know you're gonna be on your own. And the two of you should have complementary art to sell, whatever it is.
Yeah, but you can't always do that because you get assigned numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
When you go to a show, you get assigned a booth at number 34. The person who I want to be next to could be at
I
booth
haven't, wait,
75.
I don't know about you guys, I have never been to a show, and I've probably done hundreds of shows where I couldn't share a booth with someone, never. Or my two booths are done catty corner. I can tell you.
I'm
Well,
sure-
in your case, when you do that, you can't eat, I'm sorry.
I would be there.
So we just keep that in mind. So the question is, how do you share the booth with someone who doesn't necessarily know your work? Now I've given you something that I didn't rework, and it was a piece that looks like a card. This is what we used to use. And what it was a 5x8 card. And we determined what our goal was at the show itself. So, if my goal, what could be a goal? One goal may be to sell, which you've talked about. What are other goals you could have for being at a show?
Meeting other artists,
Meeting other artists, okay?
finding out about other shows.
Finding out about other shows.
Exposure.
What do you do with exposure though?
Giving your card out?
What do you mean?
You said exposure. Exposure for what purpose?
For your work.
So you want to hand out business cards so people can contact you? What exactly are we looking for?
Interaction, business cards, all of that.
Okay. Anybody else?
Maybe future shows that you're gonna be in, or your website.
Okay. You need a purpose, a single purpose for being at a show. Only a single one.
Branding?
An example would be, if in this case, and I always do them individually for the shows, and I print them on 5x8 cards, and I used to have 7 staff, And we all did the same thing. It didn't mean everybody was a salesperson. Some were an editor, one was a salesperson, some were designers. We all used the same card. So the real question was, what was the purpose of this card? I am looking for people, and this is when we had Hudson Valley Parent, who wanted to promote and advertise exclusively. There was no other purpose at that point. It was pure sales. And it was looking for prospects. Now, sometimes people are not in the market to buy your art right now, but are they a prospect in the next 6 months, in the next 8 months, in the next year? I don't know that. That's what these cards are for. So if you had to ask a person who comes to visit you, do they not hear us, by the way?
We're working on it.
Okay,
We've lost them. so-
you've lost them.
Yes.
Okay.
Someone is taking notes, right? Someone?
No, cause.
A lot of that is going to be
Someone
on these
take
sheets.
Oh, well, I thought that was.
Are we recording?
I'm
A
recording.
lot
Not
of,
when it's not connected.
No, it's not recorded.
yeah. So, for example, if you want to develop a prospect list, because you're going to do emails, or you're going to do a social media campaign and you want to add these people to your social media campaign, or you're going to do a mailer, or you're going to promote this for your next show, I want 3 questions you want to ask people when they visit you that would help you. What 3 questions? Write them down, please. What 3 questions would you ask people who visit your booth that would help you determine if they're a good prospect?
What kind of photography do they like?
I prefer if it was yes or no, and there's a reason
Oh,
for
yes.
that.
Do you,
Right.
do you buy
You
art?
like photography?
Okay, 1, do you purchase art? That might be a question. Okay, what else?
Are you looking for
Are you in the
anything
market
particular?
right now?
It needs to be yes or no.
Did you purchase art in the last year?
Okay,
Because everyone will say, do I purchase art?
that's fine, that's fine. Yes or no? Okay, did you purchase art in the last year? Because you'll know that at least they've been in the market. It's not like I purchased 20 years ago or, whatever. What else?
Are you interested in anything in particular?
No, it's gotta be yes or no. Oh, yeah, am I interested in anything particular? That's a little tough, yes, you could ask that as a yes, no. Now, let me tell you, this will ensure your success, or no. Because, you remember you're gonna share a booth, or he's not sharing any booth, we know that. But when you get an option to share a booth, if you use their card, you get the information you need from the person, and you can ask them 3 questions, and it's either yes or no. You determine the questions. Each person who is doing artwork of any sort is going to ask different questions, and it's a yes or no. This is not rocket science. Now look at the bottom where it says A, B, C, or D. Did you get one of these?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Based on the answers, every card gets a circle. A and B means I should contact them within 2 weeks. C means if I have time, I definitely should include them. And D means, holy shit, you're out of the water. So it makes it easy to sort them. It makes it easy to use it, but it requires you to make a decision on what it is you could really ask them that will make a difference in their purchasing. And that's crucial.
So you ask everybody that comes up to your table
Everybody.
to fill this out?
Sometimes, by the way, for those who are tech savvy people here? No? Yeah, okay. I used to do the little iPads, little tiny ones, and I used to have them on a stand, and they could automatically fill it out, and then I'd ask them the questions. So, because that would automatically go into whatever program you're using. So because we used to do camp fairs, so I'd have hundreds of people coming up, and then I'd be able to do it. But yes, you ask everybody, and it doesn't necessarily mean you need all this information. So if you're just looking for emails, then you don't need their web address. If you're just looking the town that they're in, then you don't need the whole address. You can personalize this based on what you need. Now remember, your objective.
Recording in progress.
Consider that too. How's
Ah.
that work?
Hello, everybody.
We have pop-up locations,
You have pop-up location
yes,
Did you,
in Sherman.
Beth,
in
did you
Sherman.
mute all of them?
So, you know.
So
we
guys,
have
hey
to
guys.
resident,
Guys,
You're
you're
okay.
back on.
residents, just
Okay.
because it's, you know, logistically better.
Right.
But
About is one, when you're on your own, and when you can, it's great to share a booth. It's 2 tables, they go diagonally, you monitor them and manage them together. Because it gives you a chance to cross-sell between the 2 of them. The second thing is, you don't eat at your booth ever. Ever. And the reason is, when you're sitting and eating, or standing and eating, you're showing disrespect for the people who have come to visit. When you visit a trade show yourself or an art show, look at what people are doing that you're saying, I gotta be kidding. The most fun thing they can do is this. All the time. All the time. Your phone ought to be off. It's ridiculous. I went to a New York State job fair, and I cannot tell you how many people had their phones out, sitting down and had their phones out. So I went up to somebody, a woman, and I said, exactly what are you doing here? I'm really crazy. And she said, well, I'm on the job, so what the hell are you doing here? You're disrespecting me, you're disrespecting all the people who are going by you, and you're still looking at your phone. When you go to shows yourself, evaluate what people are doing that say, it makes no sense. And what I talked about in terms of developing a card is figure 3 questions you want to ask potential clients or people visiting that will help you determine if they're good for you or not. Everybody who passes your table is not for you. When you learn that, you'll learn not to waste your time. How many times do you have somebody stop and they want to talk and talk and talk some more and know they're not buying art? But you only found out at the very last minute. That's a waste. You have less than 5 minutes to make a decision of whether these are prospects for you based on what they do, their interest level, their money level. Are they buying a new home? Do they have kids who are growing up and they're becoming empty nesters? Those are all signals that there are life changes coming. And with life changes, come art changes. I will tell you my story. I owned 2 brownstones. My business was in it, I had a tenant, 8 floors. 3 years ago, we sold them. We moved into an 850 square foot apartment. Now, let me tell you, that's a challenge unto itself. Clay's a painter, so everything in the public space is his. We have, I'm gonna say, at least 20, maybe more, paintings in the bedroom, in the office, in the living room, in the dining room. The kitchen is mine. Now get this.
Uh-oh.
And I have 2, it's not a very big kitchen, but it's satisfactory. And I have 2 empty walls on the side. How many paintings do I have?
60.
Right. So my goal, because that's my space, is to look for local artists, either up and coming, both students as well as at local shows, who have small pieces. My biggest, maybe 5x8s. And I collect their work. But if you didn't speak to me, and I'm in the buying market, do I want to buy big paintings? No. Do I want to buy things that complement what's there? Yeah. But nobody would think about it unless you talk to me. So a couple of things. You have 5 minutes to determine if this is a good prospect. Remember, this is not making friends. You're not there to make friends. You're there to accomplish a goal, whatever that goal be.
What if your goal is to network and build
Trade show-
relationships?
Yeah, wait.
Uh-oh.
Shows are, this is meant to network. Shows are not meant to network. You don't spend money on a booth and spend a whole day in order to network. You're there either to help promote your business, to help sell your art, whatever it be, or to gather names that will increase sales at future venues. Can be other things too, but you're not there. Many shows will have networking sessions beginning, which is different, and then at the end. We've done that.
Of course, there are different kinds of shows. You're determining this based on shows where you have a space, you paid for a booth or a wall or whatever in a space. The other kinds of shows are the shows that you enter, and you have maybe 4 or 5 pieces that have been juried in and accepted into a show where they are for sale, and that's a very different dynamic that's
But
going on
I'm
there.
not sure that's different.
It is, because the networking there is amongst the artists. There are no tables, there are no booths. In fact, some of the shows I've done, there's no place to sit. But they want the artists there as much, 90% of the
Why
time.
are you networking with other artists?
I'm not networking just with other artists, I'm meeting other artists. The networking comes from talking about other shows, talking about what, where they've been successful, what they've found, what they've done. And that has increased, my potential incredibly. I mean, just what I learned
That
from
is a different kind of opportunity.
Yeah, and it's
But
not
that
all
is
about.
not what I'm talking about at
Yes.
all.
Okay, but I'm
Because
just
that's
saying,
not
that's
really-
a lot, that's half of what I participate in.
But you could use
is
the
like that.
same techniques for
You
doing
can't
that.
really, because even though you're interacting with people and they may come up to your art and see them, the opportunity for anything, well, as you said, 5 minutes you determine, but you immediately just kind of engage with someone, and then they either walk on to the next wall or the next section, or they hang out for a few minutes. But,
Except one of the things you said was, from them, you want to know if there are alternative shows that you ought to consider, correct?
Through other artists, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So one of the things I want to get out of these people who are stopping by is to find out what other shows are there.
Yes.
And that is an opportunity for quick talk.
And if they have been to other shows, it tells you that they're interested in
All
art.
you have to do,
and
that's a
it-
yes
and-
or no.
Exactly, and then they're interested,
But it's
in
still
art. and
3
whether-
questions. Do you go to other shows?
Right.
Yes. Can I have your card or whatever? And
Right.
by the way, for those who have cards, you go to a business show, you just staple it on.
Yeah.
And then you ask the 3 questions. Do you go to other shows? Yes. Do you, whatever, have you been successful in doing that? Or whatever you want. I want 3 yes or no's. I don't care what show it is.
Yeah.
So if that's what I'm gathering, think about how you're gathering that. And what do you do after the show? So for example, everybody who said, yes, I do other shows and I'm very successful at it. It works well for me. They'll be an A for me. And I will email them or call them
Yes.
within a week to 10 days. It's the same strategy. You just have to determine specifically what you want to get out of it.
Right.
the difference here is, by the way, we're not used to, I don't know what happens with the younger generation. Now, you'll excuse me, I have a granddaughter of 20 and a grandson of 23. My granddaughter never lets go of her phone. I mean, literally, never. It's actually frightening. So, in terms of this being a venue for her, the answer is no. It's gotta be interactive and it's gotta be online. That's a different philosophy. This gives you a chance to learn how to work a room. Because, by the way, if you work a room, I have a funny story. When I started business 40 some odd years ago, and I was a marketing and public relations, I had a marketing and public relations firm, I was it. And I joined the chamber, and I opened a bank account. By the way, then you needed your husband to sign for the bank. I won't go there, but anyway. So, I went to a chamber mixer, and I met the Zwart family, Z-W-A-R-T. And one young man was charming, and I said, oh, by the way, did I tell you I'm a girl from Brooklyn? I was born and brought up in Brooklyn. So I said, what do you do? And he says, well, I sell septic tanks. Well, I was hysterical. I had no freaking idea what a septic tank did. I didn't know how to manage it. I didn't know what to do with it. I said, you know, I'm not even sure you're a client for me. P.S. They were my first signed company that we worked with. So it is funny what you get when you actually talk to people and figure out why they're there. I was thinking about, who's the potter? You, Nick. I was thinking about, I go to the Beacon farm market almost every week, right? We go at least 3 times a month. And besides the farmer stuff, which they could learn something too, there are a couple of potters, jewelry makers, and you know those booths where they have these gorgeous cutting knives? Not cutting knives, cutting boards. Mm-hmm. You know, they're magnificent. I go right by them. It's like, oh my God. But you know, what would make me, and by the way, I go right by the potter too, because I first of all have gotten rid of a dinner set for 12, et cetera, et cetera. What would make me stop? What could they do to make me stop?
A demo?
No, never say hello.
Piece of cheese.
A demonstration? Could they be doing something with their,
So if they bring their potter wheel and,
or maybe they're just painting or glazing?
Offer you a cookie?
say they can't offer you a cookie, thank you, I'm a diabetic, as you can tell, I'm having trouble. But no, I don't want food. I don't want food, and I don't want you to make me sign up for a free giveaway, by the way, because that doesn't give you any information. What could they do that's simple that would make me stop?
Say hello.
Say hello?
Say hi.
No,
Say hello to you, I don't know.
No,
Oh.
no. Anything? Come on, think out of the box. Way out of the box. What do we do with these cups that she's manufacturing and these wood boards?
Set up a display of,
She would have that
you know,
already.
how you would use them.
Well, close, come on,
You got
come on.
a
Oh,
mug,
wanna
in my
try
case,
it?
you got a nice mug, fill it full of paintbrushes.
Okay.
Already do that.
So, one of the things, and it is thinking out of the box if you can, and it makes sense. For example, the big thing at the market was, it has been so cold that they've had these small vats of soup. And they were going like crazy. I could sell my bowls with soup. And you buy 3, and you get a free cup of soup. It was so cold, you could have given that to me and I would have definitely stopped. In terms of the cutting boards, what could we do?
Loaf of bread.
Okay. What about a loaf of bread?
Cut it on the cutting board.
A loaf of
Okay.
bread for every cutting
Yeah.
board, or will you get a free loaf of
Cut
bread?
some
No
pieces
free,
of
I'm not
bread
giving
and
away stuff free.
Yeah.
No, What else? Who cooks? What do you cook?
I baked bread today.
Okay, so,
Recipe. A recipe.
yeah, small recipe
Oh.
cards. Do you enjoy, one of my 3 questions. Do you enjoy cooking?
How do you say
What
that
meats-
when the person's walking by?
You wanna
And
know?
you're not
I'll tell you
stopping?
how. You'll excuse me,
Careful on
ladies.
the way.
Hi, it's so nice to meet you. Do you like to cook?
Okay.
So I would go out of my booth, because
Oh,
I
out
do
of
want
your
them to
booth.
stop. Now, if people are stopping and you don't need to do that, that's fine. But there is nothing that says this territory can't be broached. I want to, how many use Facebook here? How many are members of Dollar Tree Favorites, or the Best of Aldi's, or any of those? Wow. Interesting, because if you did, what they share are exactly what would help you do what you're doing. They share how to do cheap Aldi cuts and cut them up finely on a chopping board. They do how to make blooming onions for diabetics. They do. I mean, it's amazing the ideas you can do. And simple recipe cards for how to. There are a whole group out there that loves that. And so the real question is, can you do something that simple to draw people in? Remember, I'm not there necessarily to sell the art. I'm there to find information. Because information is what allows you to close a deal. I'll leave you with this. I was in business maybe 3 years. And I had a cousin it was my uncle actually, who used to make lenses for cameras. And my cousin, who's an artist, used those lenses to make hanging pendants. They were gorgeous. And she was doing the gift show down in Manhattan at the Javits Center. And everybody got sick. So I said to my cousin, I'll do it. What do I know about lenses? Nothing. I'm not really a photographer. You'll excuse me, all of you people here. And what did I know about the industry? Nothing. So what did we do? What's the answer to that?
You had your 3 questions.
Yes, I went to my cousin and I said, whoever comes to the table, what are 3 questions I could ask that would help me qualify them? What's interesting is I had people from Target and Walmart coming up to me. Now, holy shit, that's beyond me. I knew nothing about price points. I knew nothing about delivery. I knew nothing about shit. But I asked my 3 questions. On the bottom of the thing, I labeled them. Yes, they were interested, A, B, or C. And then my cousin did the follow-up. I am telling you, it is not rocket science. It really isn't. But there are certain do's and don'ts that make it really crucial. And I think we forget that. When you visit family, what's the first thing you do? What do you do?
Give them a
Hug.
hug.
Hug them? Okay, well, I'll forget that one. What else do you do?
Ask them
Ask how they're
how
Sit
doing.
down for
How
coffee.
you doing? What are the kids doing? How's school? You want to see where the conversation's going to go. When people come up to you, it's the same thing. You're asking them questions because you want to see if they qualify. It doesn't mean that you ask the same questions because you mentioned different types of shows.
Right.
You're absolutely right. But it does mean, well, you need
Get
a
out of
3.
there.
Say that again.
Whoops.
Oh dear.
Okay.
Or cat, probably.
Okay, so what do we leave with? Are there things you are having trouble with that you wished I had at least started to address?
I have one.
Go ahead.
So I get qualifying them, I get talking to them and all the other suggestions you have. But, getting people to fill something out or really understanding what their email address is or any of that stuff, that's the harder thing to do. Might get their name, they're not gonna have a card. And in terms of giving you their information, in some shows, they sign in when they come to the show, along with many other people. So how do you actually get the information to contact them?
Right. A couple of things is, if people sign in, the question is, on those shows, do you get those sign-ins as well? So that's first. So all you need is first and last name and town, literally. That's all you need. Because if they've collected the rest of the information, then you don't have to do that. You do need to, I just have 3 quick questions I just wanted to know. It's been a delight seeing you. Do you really like art? Do you use art? You know, whatever your 3 questions are, it doesn't matter. And that's all you need. If in fact, you're right about that, by the way, my hand, I broke my,
I don't wanna.
yeah, I broke my right arm. So, you know, looking at it, you do need something. You either need their phone or you need their email. You don't necessarily need them both, but you do.
You need something, yeah.
The other thing, I want to share one other story. I went to, you know, these home shows. I go to a lot of them because I also like to see what other vendors are doing. I don't care what industry they're in. Clay and I go up to one in Wappingers Falls in Dutchess County. And it was a busy show, really busy. And there was a cosmetician there. Had a huge booth. It must have been a national thing. And I walked right by it. Now, who could use a cosmetician more than me? I mean, at 83, you know, I sure could use it. So, but I walked right by it. I really had other things I wanted to do. This guy ran after me. And what do you think he did?
Gave you a free, maybe?
Yes, that's what he said. You know, I've got these free samples, would you like them? What did I say?
Sure.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Why? I don't know who they are. I don't know what it is. The second, we're going a little bit further, and there's a guy on the other side. And he is selling gutters.
Get a free
Now,
sample
I
of
just
that?
sold my 2 houses. So I sure as hell don't need gutters, and I'm renting. He says, do you own a home? Now, at least he asked me a question, and it was a yes or no. And I said, no. He said, oh, well, thank you. What's the mistake on that?
That's rude.
To dismiss.
He just
No, it
says
isn't rude.
Feels it.
Well, he just,
Yeah, what could have been a follow-up?
Any
Your
of your,
children
your
don't
family or friends
Yeah.
maybe are looking for,
Yeah, right.
Gutters.
or building, or
Right.
looking for need of gutters?
Right, right.
maybe your landlord needs to put gutters on your
Well,
house.
I'm not about to go there, but yeah. You know, I'm old enough to have kids
Oh,
who have homes, who live in the area. You know, the question is, do you have kids who live in the area? Now, my son is 60. I mean, think about it. My other son is 57. They both own homes.
Right.
He missed an opportunity the minute he asked me, but that was his closer. So remember that when people say no, what could the esthetician or whatever they're called done better than would you like free samples? By the way, what's wrong with the free samples?
you don't know what the stuff is.
Right, well, from his, you're right, but from his perspective, what's wrong with the free samples?
Well, it takes down the level of whatever he's selling. I mean,
Could be.
if he's gonna be giving away stuff.
What is
then
he gaining
why
by
would you-
giving away?
Why would you buy something if
He didn't
you're gonna
get
get
any
it for free?
information.
He didn't, this is the point, he didn't gain any information.
No.
Anybody can give away free samples. That's why when somebody said, do you get a free loaf of bread? Anybody can do that. It's collecting the information. So what could he have done to make it better.
He could have asked you about your routine or, you know, what you do, what you use, and then,
Remember, we're talking yes or no.
Oh.
Remember, this is quick shit, you know, it's 1, 2, 3. You have
Do you-
less than
do
5
you
minutes.
Happy with
use
the skin
makeup?
product.
Yeah.
Right, 1, do I use makeup?
right,
That's a good question. What else could he have asked?
Are you happy with the product you're using?
Yes, that's a really key one,
yeah, that is
because
right.
then that opens the door.
Yeah.
For
Or
potential sales. Say that
What
again?
clothes is it
Well, but if I like the makeup
that you're using?
that I'm using, is there a follow-up to that? There are a couple of things I would have said after that, but that's okay. That's a good point.
Are you open to change? Are you open to try something different?
What do you like?
What is it
about
that you like
Yeah,
about
the
it?
Oh.
question is,
That's not a yes, no.
are you pleased with how it's working?
But even though the answer to the question is.
Yeah, I use makeup that I like.
Are you?
Now, we women are impossible. Impossible. Look, if you go, by the way, the biggest thing that is stolen in Walmart,
Makeup.
yes, is makeup. It's all behind closed doors now.
Oh,
It
it's
is
all
too funny.
Little stuff,
Yes,
so,
so we women are so fickle, and usually in general, about our skin.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, Mary Kay sales director for 25 years.
Okay.
The answer is, can I get your opinion on how you can compare your product to mine?
Good point. I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Works
that.
Every time.
Because that validates me.
That validates her
Perfect.
and then you can, that opens the door to get the appointment, and there you go. I've done it
Perfect.
for years.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I buy your
Yeah.
product. But anyway, so what I'm saying is, go to other shows in general. See what people are doing that make a difference for you. Would you stop at their booth? Have they engaged you? Have they asked you key questions that make you a prospective client? And if not, look at what they didn't do that you should do.
I have a question,
Go.
because this is talking about products and, could you give an example for, say, a painter
Mhm.
of 3 questions? Because
Yes,
I'm not really fully connecting the difference between a product and,
There is none.
and your art.
there is none. Remember, we're not talking about products.
Okay,
We're gathering information that see if they are a good fit for me. So, for example, depending upon the age of the person I saw, somebody said, have you purchased art within the last year? Who said that? Right.
yeah.
Good question. Do you have kids? How old are your kids, and are your kids about to make you empty nesters? Why would I ask that?
Free money.
yeah.
Why?
You
No.
have expendable money?
No,
See if they're gonna move soon.
could be. What else? Good point.
Life changes mean art changes.
Yes, life changes mean art changes. If I am changing my life because my kid's room now will be empty, I can't tell you what my daughter-in-law has done to her son's room. It's like a joke. So yes, I want to know if there are life changes that will make them potential customers. Remember, I don't necessarily think they'll buy today, but I want to know if they're prospects for me.
Which are some of the kinds of questions that I've asked when I've been in these group shows and participated. When I meet someone who's interested in my artwork, I ask very similar questions about, where are you from? Have you been to this show in past years? Is this your first day here? And they'll say something about, I love your painting, or I love your thing, and I'll, the next thing we get into is, oh, we've just moved into a new house, and blah, blah, we're looking
Remember,
for
it's
this.
less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, but these take less than 5 minutes.
That's
and
fine.
It's just like, either you click or
Absolutely.
you don't, and they make a connection.
People will say they love your art and then not buy.
Do you-
Cause they're embarrassed.
Do you read their body language though, when they're looking at your art in terms of whether or not it's something that pleases them or not? So before you even expend the time, if you see that they're going by quickly because it isn't something that interests them, why reach out then? Cause you can pick up on
I'm
people that like your
bullnosed.
art.
I'd
and
like to
don't
reach
your
out
art.
to as many as I can. If it's a very busy day and
Yeah.
people are stopping by and I'm getting enough traffic and enough information, then that's okay. But you know when you do these street fairs?
Mhm.
We went to Bethesda, Maryland, last year, 2 years ago, I forget, right after COVID. And they had moderate to high-end vendors throughout the entire mall. It was huge, it was all outdoors. And so we're not talking nickel and dime stuff. The question is, lots of people stop, walk around and leave. You haven't qualified them. Now, some will say, I'm really not interested and leave. That's okay. Thank you for dropping by. But I do want to qualify as many as I possibly can. Now, I will leave you with this. What do you do with these qualified leads? How many of you have an email for your business that you use? Okay. You do need to follow up. How many of you have done cold calls? In my business, I owned Hudson Valley Parent. I still do. And we never went out to a client. I'm gonna say 99% of the time, because the territory was just too big. We did cold calls all the time. And getting information on cold calls is no different than this. Absolutely not. We always had, I should have brought those scripts. We always had a cold call script. And there were 3 questions that determined if they were a prospect. Now, in your case, it means they then have to see your art, so you need a website or a place for them to visit, whatever that be.
How would you do cold, I mean, the cold calls would have to be generated from the list
Yes.
from the show.
You've met them at
No
the
more
show.
phone books.
No, you've met them, for you, you've met them at the show. If you've met them at the show and you've qualified them, but then don't do anything, that's a waste. It's a waste of your time, it's a waste of their time. You need to figure out how you're going to use that qualified list. You're going to do a direct mail, you're going to do an email blast. Here's a cute story. Every business I walk in, almost without fail, especially in Beacon that changes so rapidly, I ask them how they're doing. And there's this one art gallery. The guy bought the building and he, a generally good artist. And I said, how is it go? Oh, and he has a sign in. So it's digital. So he didn't have to do shit. I'm like, how are you doing? He says, well, it's okay. I said, what do you do with this list? I said, I've signed up, but I don't remember receiving anything. Oh. I said, how often do you send out emails? Well, I don't want to do it too often. Have you heard that? I said, that's okay. Maybe once every 3 or 4 months. Now that is not going to generate familiarity. So I don't say weekly, but twice a month.
Or once a month.
And he changes, no, I do it more. Because if it's local community, so what does he rely on? He relies on people coming from New York City to buy one time, and then they don't come back. Well, that's silly. So you do need a way to follow up. If you're not going to follow up, don't ignore everything I've said other than eating at your table.
Well, what's an example of a script, you know, like you want, they're A, and when you call them, how do you,
Hi,
break the ice?
your name is?
Jeff,
Hi, Mary, this is Jeff. We met last Sunday, and you said that you love the idea of decorating your son's room now that he's moved out. I wanted to see how that's going.
well,
I mean, that's why you collected the information.
yeah, it is, yeah.
I go back to the information you've already collected.
Yeah, cause let's say, if I'm going booth to booth to booth, and then out of the blue, I get a call from one, I guess it would be shocking, but at the same time, it would put a smile on my face.
If I am addressing something that you gave me, the
Yeah.
answer is yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a waste. And I will tell you, I think at least 80% of vendors don't do it. One, it's a different part of your brain to do the sales part and follow up versus the art part. So what happens if you're not good at that? You're not good at phone calls, you're not good at the follow-up, you're not good at the emails. Anybody have a suggestion?
Get an agent, Beth says.
Hire an agent.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I can't afford an agent, what else?
You can learn these things.
You can. That is true. Anything else?
You have to practice.
That is true. By the way, not everybody is good at it. So let's just assume, just in general, I'm not good at it. What do I do?
Find somebody that is good at it.
Get
and
someone
work with
else
them.
to do it for you.
Yes, find somebody who really enjoys it. First of all, high school kids, college kids, they are the best. And if they're in marketing and they want the experience, they're collecting information for you. That's all they're doing. They're setting up an email system for you. That's all they're doing. My grandkids wanted to earn extra money. I'm trying to think. We established a whole new section of our website called Best Towns. And every single town had to be looked up. It was population, it was activities, it was school systems, it was average income, it was a whole host of things. I sure as heck wasn't doing that. I hired them both. I paid them, they loved it, they finished it in 10 days. It wasn't a fortune, but I knew specifically what I was looking for, and they were good at it. Now, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But if it is, it's an exciting kind of thing. People, if you give them an opportunity, people love to talk about themselves. They love it. My cousin, my brother died yesterday, by the way. You don't have to say, oh, what bad. But anyway, all of a sudden I have cousins coming out of the woodwork. I haven't heard from them in 20 years. What's funny about it is I have a cousin who called from California, he and his wife. We're 5 months apart. And I haven't spoken to him he didn't shut up once. Not once. How are you? What are you doing, Terry? Blah, blah, blah. So, but in general, if you're good at talking to other artists, you're good at talking to prospects, I'll do your booth any day. By the way, I know you're doing art shows coming up, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have something called Terry's Hall of Shame. For you, ladies and gentlemen, who are remote, I will send you the pointers that I have. And what the Hall of Shame says, you must do as many of the pointers that are on this sheet. For every one you don't do, I take a photograph and post them on your websites, for your art association, and you can do with what you want. Because I did this with the Orange County Chamber, and I said to them, look, I'm really serious about this. When, it's like you slow down when the police come. People would come up to me and say, Terry, I really did read it. I'm standing up. See, I'm standing up. I'm doing it. I'm doing everything you said. I'm asking questions because it really forces you to make a difference. So if you develop your 3 questions and ask them and then qualify them, it will make a difference in the long run. Any other questions?
I was just gonna say, I think in terms of, you know, the sitting down and being on your phone and all of that stuff, it's, how would you feel if you approached a booth and someone was sitting down and on their phone?
I'll tell you what I did.
Because I would feel,
There
which
were
is why
two-
I don't sit and work on my phone, because it would make me crazy.
Right. I
You
had
don't-
some
you don't care?
slides.
Don't care that I'm here, you know? I'm
I
here.
had some slides about this holistic health fair I went to, and I had 4 people who did exactly that. Guy was sitting at the end of his table with his phone, and then 2 women who had some interesting stuff, I forget what exactly it was. I came, and they were both on their phones. So, you know, me, shy woman that I am, I went up to them and I said, "What are you doing here?" Well, I said, no. Why the phone? Well, I've got to do that because, I said, what about me that's walking right by? Oh, well, I'll put it down. I said, thank you very much, and I walked away. That was the end of it.
Yeah,
It is what it is,
already
know.
lost you.
you know, but I do that all the time because people don't respect the time and energy that I've put in to being there. So when you go to shows, look at what other people do and see what on the list makes sense for you.
What
Thank
about getting them to the show?
Well,
Yeah.
that's, wait.
You know, it's like you need to get them there first, right? You've got these openings, half the time it's just the artists themselves, they're missed opportunities all over the place with those kinds of, I can't tell you how many openings I've been a part of, it's just the artists.
Well,
And
for those of you, what about that answer? I have an answer, but what about it? You're not getting enough traffic to truly make it worthwhile. That's why people turn to their phone. They say, oh, nobody's here, so I'm gonna do whatever. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, what I do is I post on Instagram that I'm going to be having a show or I'm going to be part of a show. I show some of the images of what I will have in the show. I reach
Okay.
out to everyone that I know
Right?
and say, you know, I hope I'll see you there. I hope to come.
Okay, you
Come
post on
forward.
Instagram. How many followers do you have?
500 and something.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'll do it on Facebook.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
hate getting mailers. Don't send me a mailer.
Okay, I won't.
Good.
Okay.
Can't tell you how
Anything
many
else?
artists send me mailers, I'm like,
I do the Facebook too, you know.
How many followers
I
do
like
you
the
have?
mailers, cause then I have it
don't
and I
have any
remember
idea.
better
Yeah,
than
it
if
would be
it
a
came
good
through
idea
an
to
email.
know how many followers you have. One,
Gets lost in the
everybody
mirage.
I know or may eventually know, I post. And I post, how often do you post, by the way?
On Sherman Artist, I post a couple times a day.
Okay,
I post 2 or 3 times a month, so almost every week I post something if I
Okay.
can.
one, you should post at least once a day, at least. Why?
Cause it's, you never know when it's gonna scroll
The
up.
algorithm.
The problem is on all of them, whether it be using TikTok or using Instagram or using Facebook, if you look at the scroll, sometimes you're getting scroll from 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago.
Yeah,
So you never know when it's coming up.
exactly, yeah.
So even if you post the same thing twice with a different heading, do it. That's first. 2, ask all your friends to share it.
Yeah.
Make it shareable. Tell them that's what you would like them to do. Don't be embarrassed. They want to see you be successful. And if they can have a hand in it, they would love that. I have a couple of artists that I follow and I share their stuff all the time. So yes, that's one thing, is to use social media. What else?
Newsletter.
Newsletter, what do you do with it?
That's the information you collected.
Okay.
And you
you're
have your
sending-
list.
Right. I use, for Hudson Valley Parent, we have 40,000 people who we email 6 times a week. Now, you say, why does she do that?
Well,
Isn't that annoying as all shit?
Yeah, I'd be
I
scrolling down.
unsubscribe
Okay.
from all of
YouTube.
those.
Yeah, from your list, I would, it's the first thing I would do is go to the unsubscribe.
What
If
do we-
it says choose how often you
Hold
wanna
it,
see it.
hold it. Why does it make a difference for me? What am I doing? Am I sending the same email out every time?
No, you have a magazine, right?
Yeah.
So it's a different information.
One, remember you had this list with 3 questions? If you divided them up by those 3 questions, every one you sent information for, it's empty nesters, here's what I got. Moving into a new house, here's what I got. So yes, they all get them, but they know what it's about. I have 6 different topics based on the role of life they're in. So if I don't want it, and it says right on the heading what it's for, education for 2025. Open that if I don't have it. But places to go and things to do, oh my God, gotta have that one.
Yes.
So no, you're not doing the same thing to the same people all the time. You're using those questions to create little categories for what they want. And then you're emailing them.
So you have separate emails for the different topics, like separate groups?
Technically we do, but in general, that's beyond where you wanna be. We have it, they can sign up for what the topics are, but in general, people just don't, they just click them all. I hate to say that, but they do. And I have not had unsubscribes worth of flip, because they see it in the subject line of what they want. So, yeah, so one is doing a newsletter based on what people want. And then at the bottom, here's my 3 news shows with a click-through. So we're doing email, we're doing a newsletter, we're doing social media. What else?
Word of mouth.
How do you do that?
You tell your friends
Yes,
to tell their friends.
yes. Most of my friends I try and make sure they're all on my social media page. Yeah. And I have a social media page for me, and then I have a social media page for our business. I have a social media page for art. It's all different. They're all different. What else?
Press releases.
Say that again?
Press release.
Yeah, what about that? What's your local paper?
The
Actually,
Town Tribune.
Okay, you cover this huge area.
Well, the Town Tribune really just covers Sherman and New Fairfield, it doesn't cover the others, but what we found is a lot of the newspapers no longer carry anything from the nonprofits.
Weeklies.
Yeah.
Weeklies do, they're desperate.
No,
They're desperate.
not in New Milford, right? No?
Well, the New Milford Spectrum stopped doing any nonprofit stuff, that's the weekly in New Milford.
Okay, because you're not spending money.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so now we've tried press releases. What else what's the one thing we haven't done? What happened to flyers?
Oh, posters and flyers, yeah, we do that.
We
Yeah.
do that too. Mhm.
Yeah. Signs.
And does
Signs,
everybody,
Exactly.
I'm a member of the Orchid Society of the Mid-Hudson Orchid Society. And they have an orchid show this year in April. And in January, they sent us all posters. And they also did a digital piece so that we could, and we have a membership of about 1,500. So that everybody potentially had it. They send it out in their newsletter, and a click through to the poster, and a click through to the flyer, to encourage more and more people to use it. I know that. Anything that's down and dirty, however you get your name out there, any of you have suggestions?
Being a plein air painter, I'm out there painting and people stop to see what I'm doing.
And
I sold-
then we have
I
an
sold a
opportunity
painting that
to
I just
to tell
barely
them.
started.
Give them the flyer.
Yeah, well, then that's when I hand them a card, I keep cards with me, and I hand them a card, and I'll say, I'm actually going to be in a local.
No, I want the
Are you here
flyer.
local, but, you know,
For me, if it's not written, it doesn't exist.
yeah, well,
I want
if I'm
the
out
flyer.
painting, I just have one of my
Yeah.
cards, but I don't.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so, couple of things I didn't cover and it doesn't matter. Never ask, can I help you? Because my answer is going to be, no, thank you very much, and I'm gone. First minute of the conversation is to qualify them. By the way, the worst part on shows in general is they're loud and they're noisy. And you have a lot of competition. So speak slowly. People from New York never do, by the way. Never,
Yeah.
never, never, never. And enunciate.
Then we have to make it noisy.
So speak slowly and speak clearly. Do not carry on conversations with other staff members. Other people who are in the same association. You're not there to make friends with them. Please don't do that. Don't sit, eat, or drink. I told you that. Body language is important. Don't stick your hands in your pockets. Right? Don't face somewhere. Face forward, eyes up. Make eye contact. I love your glasses, by the way. Thank you. Remain professional at all times. Somebody says no, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Let it go. Avoid indiscriminate distribution of literature. I see that all the time. If I haven't qualified them, I think, well, maybe I'll give them a card and they'll call me. It's wasting your time and theirs. And by the time they get home, what do I do with the stuff?
Throw it away.
Yeah, it's all gone. The other thing, which I'm not sure, it was close to what we talked about. There are times when parents, if you have a family show, this used to happen because we were in the family business. I didn't want the kids for what I was doing. I wanted the parents. So I always had a little tiny table for crafts. And I had one young person doing the crafts. And I could talk to the parents and they were perfectly fine. Now you can do that too in terms of having something while somebody's cutting up and chopping, they're the chef, you're then qualifying other people. So you're managing your audience in some way. It really works if you can think out of the box. And I look forward to meeting you at each of your shows. Thank you so much.
Thank you.